Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really simple, but honestly an incredibly powerful framework for personal growth. It comes from the legendary business philosopher Jim Rohn. So let's dive right in. That's the big question, isn't it? We all want to get better. We want to grow. We want to build a life that actually feels like we're in charge of it. But where on earth do you even start? Well, it turns out the answer isn't some huge, complicated secret. It's actually all about building a solid foundation.
And the foundation we're going to explore today comes straight from Jim Rohn's classic teachings. He laid out these 4 fundamental pillars that literally anyone can use to intentionally renew their life. And I want you to think of these less as steps you take one after another, and more like the core supports for everything else you want to build.
Now, this whole framework, it really rests on one single core belief, that personal change is an active, intentional process. It's something you do, not something that just sort of happens to you.
And this quote just captures it perfectly. Rohn's message is all about personal power, personal agency. You have the choice. You have the ability to change your circumstances. You are not stuck. But that crucial first move, it's always an internal one.
So how do you actually start making that internal move? Well, that brings us right to our very first pillar, mastering your mindset. See, before you can change your actions, before you can change your results, you have to change the way you think. All real, meaningful change starts right here, between your ears.
Rohn's idea here is incredibly direct, almost blunt. He argued that everything in your life right now, your job, your health, your relationships, all of it, is just a reflection of your past thoughts. Now listen, this isn't about blame. It's actually the opposite. It's about empowerment. Because if your thinking created your present, the new thinking can create a whole new future. So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, it's often a really simple but profound shift. It's moving from a dead-end statement like, I can't, which just shuts everything down, to an open-ended question like, okay, how can I? That tiny change, it turns a brick wall into a doorway. It sparks your creativity and puts you right back in the driver's seat.
All right, so once your mindset is open to new possibilities, you need a way to channel all that energy, right? That brings us to our second pillar, designing your goals. This is where you go from just an abstract thought to a concrete plan of action.
Rohn saw goals as the actual architectural blueprints for the life you want to build. Without them, you're just kind of drifting, getting pushed around by whatever life throws at you. But with goals, you become the one steering the ship. You're living by design, not by default. And Rohn broke this down into a super practical 4-step process. First, you have to get clear. Define what you truly want. Step 2, you write it down. Make it real, make it specific. Third, you give it a deadline. That creates a sense of urgency. And finally, and this is the most critical step of all, you take some small action toward it every single day. That consistent daily progress is how a blueprint becomes a reality.
Okay, so you've got the right mindset. You've got a clear goal. What's next? Well, you need the knowledge and the skills to actually make the journey. And this brings us to pillar number 3. A commitment to lifelong learning. This is the engine that's going to fuel your growth. Rohn really believed that learning isn't something that's just stuck in a classroom. It's happening all around us, all the time. We learn from our own experiences, reflecting on our wins and our losses. We learn from other people, mentors, friends, colleagues, and of course, we learn from established knowledge, books, seminars, podcasts, you name it. But here's the crucial point. Just consuming information isn't enough. The real magic happens when you actively reflect on what you've learned and you ask yourself, okay, how can I use this? How can I apply this to my life? True learning is all about turning that knowledge into a skill and then turning that skill into real-world results.
And now for the final pillar. The one that honestly makes everything else actually work. You can have the best mindset, the clearest goals, all the knowledge in the world, but without discipline, none of it matters. Discipline is the force that brings all of this to life.
Rohn's definition of discipline is just brilliant because it's so simple and so honest. It's not about being motivated. It's not about feeling inspired. It's about doing what you know you need to do, especially on the days you really don't feel like doing it. It's the bridge that connects your goals to your accomplishments.
And this leads to a really powerful choice that Rohn presented. He said we all have to suffer one of 2 pains in life, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Now, the pain of discipline, that's temporary. It's the discomfort of just doing the work. But the pain of regret, that lasts. And the difference, he said, is that discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons.
So as we bring this all together, you can start to see that these aren't just four separate ideas. They're a complete, interconnected system for building a better life, literally from the inside out.
Think of it like this. Your mindset is what cracks open the door to what's possible. Your goals give those possibilities a clear direction, a place to go. Lifelong learning gives you the map and the tools for the journey. And finally, discipline. Well, discipline is the fuel you put in the tank every single day to actually make the trip. Each pillar needs the others to stand strong.
So the real takeaway here isn't just to understand these four pillars, but to act on them. And you don't have to be perfect at all of them overnight. Just start with one. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Looking at your life right now, which one of these pillars needs the most attention? Which one will you start building today?